Sleep is one of the most common battles with teenagers, and the first thing I'll say about it is don't go to war over it. It would be great if all kids were awesome with this. I think it's just important to know that they will kind of struggle with this. Part of that is because of school schedules. You know, it's kind of brutal for kids because they end up having a lot of homework. They can be up late, especially if they're procrastinators, and then they have to be up quite early, so their brain isn't getting enough sleep, somewhat by the natural cycle that schools somewhat create, and also it may be self-created too. Knowing that sleep is a big part of it, and it can certainly cause them to make more mistakes on tests. Research points to that. It's one of the most common things that I see with teenagers and adults that can be very tricky just because a sleep-deprived brain, it's just clearly not going to function as well. People are more likely to make mistakes on tests. Very commonly for adults and teenagers, I'll see them using like different caffeine stimulant things to try and help themselves to perk back up when they're like falling down, and not realize that caffeine and all of that stuff, 5-hour energy, can only go so far. Again, don't go to war over it, but it's something that maybe is worth reflecting on, being like, so it sounds like that test, you being tired, like really hurt that effectiveness on that. That stinks. It sounds like you probably are frustrated about that. What do you think you might do differently? Test on people who slept for less than 6 hours a night. It revealed substantial changes in their genes. So that's certainly something that points to kind of the longer term effect that a lack of sleep can have, but it changes things within the genes that govern the immune system. It changes metabolism, sleep and wake cycles, the body's response to stress. So all of it suggests that poor sleep hygiene and poor sleep over a long term could have a very broad impact on an individual. They found that in these studies it affected over 700 genes, and it may shed light on some of the biological mechanisms to a host of ailments, including heart disease, diabetes, obesity, stress, depression. All of these things are higher in people that get less sleep. Kids need to practice good sleep hygiene, and this can be things like getting them an alarm clock instead of having their cell phone next to their bed. And the cell phone tends to keep it stimulating by design. The colors and the way that alerts pop up, things being read, all of that stuff is very powerful to them. A hot shower 90 minutes before bed is an easy thing to help wind down. Drinking milk, reading a book, sometimes things like melatonin can also be helpful, and then trying to go to bed every night at the same time. It's very simple stuff, but it keeps people from having more radical interventions that are there. So it's a process of hopefully not needing those things, but granted, if teenagers need more sleep, and it's going to be important to be kind of in tune with that.